Okay, imagine for a second you could ask a giant digital brain any question and get an answer instantly. Well, that's pretty much what we're going to explore today with SQL. It's the language that lets us talk to data.
So, think about it like this. Our digital world, it's like a city with billions and billions of people. Now, if you wanted to find just one specific person in that massive city, you couldn't just wander around shouting their name, right? It'd be impossible. You'd need a system, some kind of language to ask the city's master directory, and that system is exactly what we're here to talk about.
And that special language is called SQL. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand its basic grammar and be ready to ask your own questions of that huge data city.
All right, so SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and it's how we talk to something called a database management system. But what does that actually mean? Well, the easiest way to think about it is this. Imagine a database is a massive, perfectly organized warehouse. SQL is the language you use to tell the warehouse manager exactly what you need, right down to the aisle and the specific shelf number. With SQL, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can order data, you can sum it up, you can count how many of something there are. It's incredibly versatile. But for today, we're going to start with the most fundamental action of them all, just selecting data.
All right, enough theory, right? Let's get our hands dirty. We're about to write our very first query to see how this whole thing actually works.
Okay, so take a look at this. This is our sample customers table, and it's going to be our little learning playground for today. Just notice how it's structured, right? You've got rows for each customer and then columns for different bits of information, like their name, age, and city. This whole structure is absolutely key to how SQL works.
So every basic SQL query really just has two core ingredients: select and from. Select tells the database what columns you want to see, and from tells it where to find those columns, which table to look in. It's really as simple as that. So what if we want to see literally everything in our customers table? Well, we use this command you see here. That little asterisk, the star, that's basically a universal shortcut in programming for all. So this query simply means select all columns from the customers table. Now, asking for everything is useful, for sure, but the real magic, the real power of SQL happens when we start to narrow things down. What if we don't want the whole warehouse? What if we just want one specific box? Well, that's where filtering comes in.
And we do this by adding a third piece to our query, the where clause. Just think of it like you're adding a rule to your request. So you're no longer just saying, bring me boxes. You're telling the warehouse manager, hey, only bring me the red boxes.
And this shows it perfectly. Our query is asking for the ID, name, and age of customers where their age is greater than 25. Now look at the output. Jane Doe, she's exactly 25, so she gets filtered out. Only John and Peter, who are older, actually make it through.
Okay, so we can filter by one rule. That's cool. But what if we need to get even more specific? What if we have 2 rules? Or 3? Well, SQL has a really simple way to combine conditions to make our questions even more precise. The 2 tools we use for this are AND and OR. And here's an easy way to remember the difference. AND is like needing a passport and a ticket to fly. You absolutely need both. OR is like a restaurant that takes cash or card. Either one is fine. So let's look at an OR example. Here, we're asking for customers from London or Paris. The database just scans the list. Is John from London or Paris? Nope. What about Jane? Yep, London, so she's in. And Peter? He's from Paris, so he's in too. They both get included because they each met at least one of our conditions. Okay, now let's swap that OR for an AND. What if we want customers who are older than 18 and from New York? See how the rules just got way stricter? Let's check our table. Is John Doe over 18? Yep, he's 30. Is he from New York? Yes. So he meets both conditions. He's in. But what about Jane Doe? Well, she fails the city condition. Peter Lee? He fails both. So you see, only John Doe makes the cut this time. Pretty cool, right? With just these few commands, select, from, where, and OR, you can already build some really powerful and specific questions. You've got the toolkit, so now let's put it to the test. Okay, I think we're done with the customer data. Let's switch to something a little more fun, animals. Take a look at this table. I've got a challenge for you. All right, here's your mission, should you choose to accept it. I want you to write a single query to find the names of all the animals that are currently breeding and have exactly 1 young. Pay close attention to the column names on the screen. Go ahead and pause this explainer and try to write it out.
Okay, you ready for the answer? Did you get it? Let's see.
And here it is. Let's walk through it together. First, select animal, because we only wanted the animal's name. Then, from TBL animals. That's just the name of our table. And then the most important part, the filter, where breeding equals yes and number of young equals 1. We had to use and because the animal had to meet both of those conditions. Hey, if you got that right, congratulations. You've officially written a real SQL query.
So there you have it. In just a few minutes, you've learned the basic grammar for talking to data. You now have the fundamental key to unlock answers from massive data sets. Now this is just the beginning, of course, but the power is officially in your hands. So the real question is, what do you want to ask?